I'll show you how to set a torch. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to mark your copper. You're going to cut your copper just like we did with the other ones. These are nice because they have quick releases on them.
Oh shit.
Put it in, line it up. You notice I am not putting it in a vise to cut it. If you have to put it in a vise to cut it, you're doing something wrong. So, again, I'm just going to do it the same way. It's a score cut, just like we did before with the electrical piping with the big pipe threader. We're just going to score cut it. So, pretty quick, pretty simple. And of course, this has a little tool on it for reaming it. So what I'll do is I'll make sure it's nice and clean because we don't want any burrs inside of there. And if you notice, I'm facing it down because I want all of the shavings to fall out. So now it's set. Now I've touched this.
Now you gotta clean it.
So now what I have to do is I have to clean it. But once I clean it, I don't want to touch it again. There's two ways. You can use sandcloth or you can use one of these little cleaning tools. I bought these cleaning tools because they're kind of easier sometimes. See how nice and clean that gets? What haven't I done? I haven't retouched it. Because if I touch it, I have now just put oil on it from my hand. Now the solder is not going to adhere. So, of course, since I touched it, I've got to re-clean it. So, brand new fitting, clean inside, ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flux. I'm going to flux it. And of course, brand new brushes in here. So I'm going to put a little bit of flux on there. And you will notice when I flux this, I don't go like this. I flux off. Because I don't want any of the flux to go inside the pipe. So what this is going to do is this is going to chemically clean it when I heat it up. So now I'm going to put my fitting together. So I have just cleaned it, I have just fluxed it, it's ready to go. So I have my fitting here. I'm going to set it in just on the just so it's in there, it's ready to go. Now I'm going to set up the torch. Got my torch, I've got my MAP. We're just going to use MAP gas for this. Screw it in, and it's a self-igniting torch. Inside this torch, if you look, it's got a little spiral face. So what it does is it's mixing the air that's in here with the fuel that's coming out to give us that flame. So now I have my torch set, now I'm going to get my solder set. Of course, I'm going to roll off the solder, and I'm only going to burn it, and I'm not going to use more than that little bit. When I go to solder, I'm going to put the heat on there. I'm not going to take and put the heat and put the solder in between it, because then the heat's going to melt the solder, not the project. The project is what you want to heat the solder. So I'm going to heat it, and I'm going to touch on the back side where the heat is not. Because when the back side is hot enough, the solder will melt into it. I will then remove the heat. I don't want to leave the heat in there because this is now a process that is now has to be heat controlled. So once the solder starts to melt, I take the heat away and I put as much solder in there as I can. I can always bring it back in and give it a little extra heat to reheat it. But if you go too hot, the solder won't stick. If it's not hot enough, the solder won't melt. So you can get it over hot. So you can overheat this project in the way. So got my glasses are on, your glasses are on, we're all good to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat on this side. And the reason why I made this little L is to be able to help me get on the back side.
Oh, it's like, all right.
So I'm going to heat it up. I put the heat in. I'm testing. Now, I'm going to take my rag and I'm going to wipe it down. I'm wiping it down for two reasons. I'm getting rid of the extra solder and I'm cooling it down. So I got rid of the extra solder, or the extra flux. I cooled the solder, got rid of the flux, and now it's set. It's a nice clean joint. Of course, I did it. It's a little over, but you see the silver ring all the way around? I let gravity take some of it to the other side. So I went this side, I went this side. Now, you notice I did not use a lot of heat, very minimal heat. Once it started to melt, what did I do? I took the heat away. So we want to make sure that we're able to remove the heat. So that piece is still going to be warm because I just soldered it. It's set to go. So all I did was I wiped the extra flux off. And look how nice and clean that is. It's a nice looking joint. You'll notice there's solder all the way around. Now, so that is solder. You notice I cleaned it, fluxed it, soldered. Now, in brazing, it's slightly different. We will no longer use this because this will only get it so hot. You can use that to braze, but it's going to take like 4 times as long. These torches are designed to be very hot. This is MAP gas, which is the surrounding oxygen in the air. So this is just MAP. This is what we call air acetylene. This is using an acetylene gas, just like you're using oxyacetylene, but what it's doing is it's using the environmental air, and that's what these little holes out here. As the gas gets pushed through, it's going to create a vortex to suck oxygen into it. So it is going to send the oxygen through this. It's going to mix it as it comes through here. This is nice because it is a self-igniting. So of course, if I needed to, I can change the tips. I can put a different tip on there. I can change the tip if I need to have a different type of tip. This is what they call a swirl tip cutting head, or swirl tip brazing head. So what it does is it swirls the stuff together and it gives you a nice big flame. It's going to be a big flame.
One of the wide ones?
It's going to be really big, really wide, and it's going to sound like a jet engine. Once you set this regulator, it's a set it and forget it, which means you don't touch this adjuster on the thing. All you have to do is turn this on. This gauge will tell you how much fuel is in the tank. Once you turn this on, you will turn it on and it will sound like a jet engine. Turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. You shut this off, and you always purge your line when you're done.
Okay. Always purge it?
Always purge your line when you're done. You want to leave gas.
Gas in there, okay.
So, how much did you see how much I turned this?
Just a little bit.
Less than a full turn, right? Maybe half a turn?
Give or take it.
Set to go. So it's like a jet engine. That's what it sounds like to me. This one is slightly different. This regulators you have to set. So when I do this, I usually use 4 and 10 as my settings. So what I do is, again, turn these on. These ones are nice because they have handles on them. One gauge will give you how much gas is in the tank. The other gauge is going to be your regulator setting. So this is going to show us how much gas there is. This is just going to be our regulator setting. So we're going to go by these inside numbers for PSI because the outside numbers are bar. So it's like a metric term. So we're going to set the acetylene first. But what we have to do is when we go to do this, we want to make sure that we turn our torch head on to set the regulator because we want it at a flow of that much. Not at that, because if I close it, you see what happened to that head?
Stays there.
It went up a little bit. So we want a flow of 5. So of course I'll open it up, oxygen up. Oxygen is pretty close to being set. About 10. So now my oxygen and my acetylene is set. What I do is when I go to start this one, you have a striker. You do not do this.
It's a big mistake.
People that do this have nothing to do because what they're doing is they're wrecking their striker. You're getting all the soot and gunk in your cycle. You put it next to it and you strike. Brand new striker too.
I didn't know we'd be oxy welding today.
We're not really welding. and blazing, there's a total difference. So I turn my acetylene down a little bit. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm going to turn my air on, my oxygen on, and I'm going to turn my tip in. See how I pulled that tip in?
Mm-hmm.
As I adjust with more oxygen, it's going to bring that tip tighter and tighter. Very hot tip will melt through this copper very quickly. When you shut it off, I always say shut this off first, then shut the oxygen off.
Always red first?
I was always told to shut the red off and then the oxygen off.
Okay.
Because the red is the gas.
Mm-hmm.
You shut the gas off, it just is oxygen. So those are our two torches we're allowed to use in these fields. I'm going to have you start, if you want to try that.